You got 72 hours, or your son learns what fear really means. The room went silent as Victor Greaves, the collector, dropped the bomb. My name is Rachel Duarte, I'm 32, and until 10 seconds ago, I was the picture-perfect single mom holding it together. Mortgage just a month behind. Credit card balance under control. I'd even baked cupcakes for my son's class last night. But when that collector growled that threat into my voicemail, something inside me snapped. Most people cry, I smiled, because Victor Greaves didn't know who he'd just cornered. He thought I was another scared, overworked woman he could bully for a quick buck. But I spent 6 years as a paralegal at a firm that devoured men like him before breakfast. I'd stepped away from law when I had Jamie, he's 7 now. But today, Mommy's back in session. It started with a weird voicemail from an unknown number. The guy didn't even identify himself properly. Just said, "This is your final warning. Pay what you owe or you'll regret it," and then he hung up. At first, I brushed it off. Then Jamie's school called. A man had shown up at the gate, claiming to be Jamie's uncle. When they refused to let him in, he caused a scene and left. My stomach sank, the number from the voicemail. Same area code as the guy who caused trouble at school. I pulled my credit reports. Only one delinquent item, a $2,900 debt from an old utility account I co-signed for my ex, Chris. I'd disputed it already. It was in collections, but nowhere did it say Victor Greaves. I contacted the collection agency on file. They had no record of Victor. Something wasn't right, so I did what any rational person would do. I locked the school down with a no release without ID order, and I started watching and waiting. Over the next 2 weeks, I built my case, every threat, every slip-up, every illegal move. First, I recorded every voicemail Victor left. He made it easy, threats, profanity, even impersonating a federal agent once. Second, I traced the number. It led me to a Shell LLC based out of a UPS drop box in Nevada that smelled fishy. Third, I got help from an old friend, Melissa, a debt litigation attorney I worked with before Jamie was born. She pulled Pacer records. Victor Greaves had been sued 3 times in the past for violating the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. But he'd never messed with someone like me. I also called the original creditor. They confirmed the debt had been sold, but not to Victor. His claim was completely unsubstantiated. He had no legal right to call me, let alone harass me or show up near my son. Now I had a folder full of audio files, screenshots, GPS pings, and a statement from the school's security guard. It was time to go on offense. I mapped out a plan, goals. To make Victor wish he'd never heard my name, weapon. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, Section 807. False Representation, Section 808. Unfair Practices, Section 805. Harassment. He'd broken every one's. Timing. Perfect. Jamie was visiting my parents for spring break. That gave me 7 uninterrupted days. Day 1, I mailed Victor a cease and desist letter via certified mail. I knew he'd ignore it. That was the bait. Day 2, I set up a sting line using a burner phone and spoofed my number to appear local. Day 3, he called, ranted, threatened. I recorded everything. Day 4, I filed complaints with the FTC, CFPB, and the State Attorney General's office. Day 5, Melissa drafted a formal lawsuit. Not just a complaint, but a full-on civil action naming Victor and the Shady LLC as co-defendants. Day 6, I got a call. Not from Victor, from his lawyer. A half-baked ceasefire attempt, Day 7. Private showdown. Just me, Victor, and a USB full of karma. Behind closed doors, Victor confronted me at his so-called office, a dingy suite above a payday loan joint. He sneered, "You people always pull this, I know my rights crap. You think you're special." I stayed cool. "No, I just read better than your last victim." I slid the USB across his scratched-up desk. "Play that." I'll wait, he clicked it, listened, and his face began to twitch. The part where he impersonated a federal agent. That one made him flinch. This is entrapment, he snapped. I raised an eyebrow. Victor, bless your heart, you don't even know what entrapment means. He stood, look, let's just forget all this. I'll delete your file, okay. Water under the bridge. I smiled like a Sunday school teacher. You threatened my son. He froze, I did, and a voice cut in from behind the cracked door. You sure about that? Melissa stepped in, holding a portable recorder and a hard copy of the lawsuit. Victor's face went ghost white. I could settle, he muttered. Melissa didn't blink. $75,000. And we filed the lawsuit anyway. So your future clients see what you're made of. He looked at me, desperation rising. I'll lose everything, I stood, straight in my bag. Good, that's the first honest thing you've said. He didn't speak as we left, but I caught a glimpse of his reflection in the mirror near the exit. Sweat on his temples, eyes darting like a caged animal. He thought the law was his playground. Too bad he invited me to recess. One domino after another toppled, and everyone made a satisfying thud. First, setback one. The Nevada Attorney General's office opened a formal investigation into Victor's LLC within 72 hours of my complaint. They issued a cease and desist. His accounts frozen. Business license suspended pending review. The Dropbox office sealed shut. Then came setback two. I filed suit in small claims court, and Melissa simultaneously triggered a civil lawsuit in federal court. When Victor didn't respond to the court summons in time, we moved to request a default judgment. He panicked and he tried to call me from a new number. This time he was crying, yes, crying. I'll go bankrupt, he sobbed, please don't ruin me, and I recorded that too. But the big blow. Setback 3. One of Victor's ex-victims saw our lawsuit posted on a public court tracker and contacted Melissa. Then another. And another. Within 3 weeks, Melissa had enough affidavits to file for class certification. Now it wasn't just me suing him. It was 17 people, each with their own story, each with receipts. Victor's lawyer tried to settle out of court again. The offer, $12,000, split between all plaintiffs. An insult. Melissa responded with a new offer. $120,000 minimum, plus attorney's fees. Plus a formal admission of wrongdoing to be published publicly for 30 days on a consumer watch site. Victor ghosted for a week, then he tried to file for bankruptcy. Too late. Our lawsuit was already in motion, and bankruptcy doesn't protect you from fraud or deliberate FDCPA violations. He wasn't just losing money, he was losing everything. 1 week later, I got a letter in the mail. From a woman in Arizona. Thank you, she wrote. He threatened my daughter with CPS. I thought I was alone. Victor had picked the wrong mother to threaten. In the federal courthouse on April 12th, the verdict landed. Victor slumped behind his barely awake lawyer, trying not to look anyone in the eye. The judge, an older man with a buzz cut and zero patience for nonsense, read the ruling aloud. This court finds Mr. Greaves in violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act under multiple provisions, including but not limited to harassment, misrepresentation, and unlawful threats. Victor didn't blink. He just stared forward empty. The judge kept going. Furthermore, due to repeated offenses across multiple states and plaintiffs, and the defendant's failure to cease activity after formal notice, the court awards statutory damages of $145,000. Attorney's fees in full, civil penalties filed to state bar and licensing boards. And then my favorite part. Any future debt collection activity by the defendant or entities affiliated with him is prohibited under federal injunction. Translation. Victor was permanently banned from ever working in debt collection again. I didn't gloat, didn't smirk. I just held Melissa's hand, nodded once, and let the system do what it was supposed to. On my way out, I passed Victor in the hallway. He didn't speak, but I did. You still think I'm just another scared mom? He looked up, there was nothing in his face but defeat. He shook his head, good. I turned and walked out into the sunlight. 6 months later, I'm back in court, but this time as an intern. Melissa offered me a part-time position helping with consumer protection cases while Jamie's at school. I'd forgotten how much I loved the work, how powerful it feels to fight for people who think no one will listen. As for Victor, he sold his truck online. His LLC is gone. And thanks to the ruling, every time someone Googles his name, the words banned from debt collection pop up first. People ask me if it was worth the stress. The late nights, the legal fees up front. My answer's always the same. Jamie sleeps through the night now. He hasn't had another stranger show up at school. And last week, I helped a single dad sue a predatory car loan company and win. The moral of the story, well, if you flex fake rules, don't cry when the real ones snap you in half. Because sometimes the system works if you're brave enough to push it.
Got a plot twist of your own? Write it down in the comments and you might star next episode. Thanks for watching.